is your due diligence.
Due diligence.
Due diligence.
Hello everyone, my name is Dylan, and today we will be going over the importance of property manager due diligence. So to start off, that's the article name. So in researching for this presentation project, that's the article I found. And from my understanding, the purpose of this presentation is to both summarize the article and to relate what I've gotten to this course. All right, moving on. So what is a property manager? So the textbook definition of a property management is the daily oversight of residential, commercial, or industrial real estate through a third party. So primarily with this presentation, we will be looking at more of the residential aspect. So that's going to be the main focus. So to start off, I categorized a property manager into 4 parts. The article categorized into 4 key points. So we have tenant management, rent management, maintenance and repairs, and of course financial management, which I would say is the most important. So going over tenant management, so this is going to be going over finding and screening for new tenants. So doing background checks, looking into the tenants, that's going to be that portion. And they also go over the move in and move out date, so that's going to be under the tenant management. Going over to rent management, this is going to be the portion where they're actually collecting rent and accessing late fees if necessary. So if they're behind on a payment or whichever fees, because with each property the fees will vary. Maintenance and repairs, and once again, with this one, a lot of the stuff will vary from property to property. So with maintenance and repairs, that is just working with tenants to make necessary repairs to kind of keep that livable. So say if your fridge breaks, you kind of can't live without a fridge. But I guess you can, but you really don't want to. You don't want your tenant to suffer. So going through that, and just to manage routine maintenance items. So looking at the roofs, depending on if it's commercial, it could be the parking lot. Those type of key things that kind of just vary to property to property. And financial management. So like I was saying, this is probably the most key. So that is setting, budgeting, managing the property, and just tracking that budget, because that financial management will affect everything. So yeah, looking just more monthly reporting and just funds that move the property. So because if you don't have those funds, you can't do maintenance and repairs. You can't go over to the rent management side. It's the whole thing. So moving on. So what to look for in a property manager? Once again, this article, it went over kind of these 5 key factors in when looking, kind of interviewing for that property manager. So reputation and experience. So reviewing each candidate's trade association membership, certification, references, internet reviews even, and just even potential conflicts of interest. So maybe even the social media side of things. Just that's kind of looking at what your property manager role, your potential property manager has done or has not done. Just that's more the interview portion. And then you also want to look for the fees and insurance. Because referring to the article, in most cases, the property manager will charge between 3 and 8% of a property's gross income for their services. So that can really take a pretty good hit out of what you're coming home with as an owner, because depending on that, you might not be making any money from that property. Moving over to the policies and procedures, it's really critical that property manager will both serve the tenant and the owner. So they should really have a well thought out plan, and it should be clearly documented. So for both procedures, you should have something for the tenant or the tenants, depending on how many properties this property manager is doing, or if it's an apartment complex, whichever. He should have Excel sheets or Google Sheets or some form of documentation. So a lot of it's like just emergency contact information, like who's going to show up to the property if something happens. Say if there's water in the basement or something just stops working or whichever that is, or do you even hire somebody else, a whole third party to see whoever's going to cause or fix the problem. And moving over to the technology and reporting. So this is more recent, as the article states. So it says, in recent years, common property manager activities have been made easier with the use of popular technologies. Now, in the article, it really doesn't say too much about that, but it's to maximize residents' experience and drive efficiency. Now, you can be looking at this like Excel sheets, Google Sheets, kind of that, more software. That's kind of how I look at it, and after reading the article, that's what I got from it. And the intangibles. So intangibles, that it could make or break it. So with that portion, it's not going to be found on paper. It's not going to be found through anything. It's kind of just talking with that property manager to see if they're friendly, easygoing, able to work with situations, kind of just ready. So the article goes over organization skills, friendliness, and it has a different category of additional services. So does this property manager strive to create a community for the residents, or do they just care about the money and that's it? They do the bare minimum. But say if they go above and beyond, that's kind of what you can see in the intangibles department. So that was kind of just going over the summary portion of the article. With the two next slides, it's kind of going what I've gotten from after reading the article. Now, I'm not going to dive too deep into, I don't know, the definitions and stuff, kind of just like what this course has taught me about looking for a property manager. That's what I'm going to be looking for in this presentation. So I kind of just made it go over into the hiring process. So with recruiting, interviewing, and onboarding. So recruiting, you're kind of looking for those, I don't know, you're kind of doing those background checks, going through the interview process, that sort of thing. And then, and then there's a couple different sites that you can use to just kind of find people. So you can use stuff like LinkedIn, that sort of thing. And then you're going to be going over to the interviewing process where you actually interview this potential property manager and kind of going through what we talked about in the last slide, and the onboarding process. So this is going to be more paperwork and talking about fees and that type of thing, or even you can talk about the interview where you're going to go more in depth in the onboarding. You're going to make your business plan and seeing what your goals are for the next couple years and seeing if you really want this property manager on board. So, and you're going to kind of just going over, so say if this is a new property manager, you're going to be going over what is required, that sort of thing, kind of just like a small business. Because looking at this is really just a small business, because personally I want to invest into real estate, and I probably will have a property manager where it will be probably me, my accountant, and the property manager. So it can be very small, but this is kind of what I wanted to get everything in as. Moving on. So this is kind of just the where to start. So the planning, strategy, and strategic management portions. So with the planning phase, you're kind of going over like the next couple years, what your main goals, because with the planning phase, you really just want to write down what you want to accomplish. So those main goals that you really want to get done. So say if you want to buy, I don't know, a 4-unit condo, that's what you're looking for, and you want to live in one of the units. That can be listed in the planning phase. And moving on for strategy. So you can kind of look at this as like timing the market, because right now in December 2022, it is a terrible time to buy. As you all might know, we are kind of in like, I don't know, a bubble of some sort. That's what everyone's calling it, in a real estate bubble, whatever. So kind of just going over the strategy, timing the market. Once again, kind of seeing what is a good option. So even like a strategy could be getting out of residential, going to commercial, industrial, that sort of thing. That might be a good strategy. Or you want to start building up. So, I'm going to start in residential, and then after a couple years I go over to commercial, and then I'll go whatever. You just want to have that strategy. And the strategic management sort of things that's when you're doing it. You're in the process of doing it. We just talked to this tenant, they're on board. Okay, cool. They signed in for a year. That's when you're actually doing it. So the planning and strategy phase, you're kind of just talking about it. The strategic management portion, it will come and go. So there will be times where, okay, we did all the planning for this, we're going to start it, and then okay, it kind of goes away. Okay, you're kind of just doing your everyday thing. Okay, you got another idea. Okay, in a month we're going to start this. And this can kind of be looked at, kind of going back for more strategy. I did want to point this out. So you buy a house, or you buy a duplex, or whatever. So duplex means 2 units, kind of like a condo. And okay, 1 unit is perfect, but the other one, you have to get a whole bunch of new appliances like a stove and like dishwasher and fridge and all that. It's you kind of want to get that done with. You kind of just want to get that out of the way, kind of start just getting your chores done in a sense. So that's kind of when you're actually doing it. But with the planning strategy phase, you kind of just talking about what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, and then the strategic management sort is when you're actually doing it. And this takes us to our last slide. So this is my works cited. I have my article here that I used, and do note that it was posted of the 19th in 2020. Now, according to the guidelines of this project, it did surpass that 6-month. But I'm willing to take the hits, because I probably read a good 20 articles, and this was the first one where I actually could relate to this course. With the other ones, it's looking at the Forbes website, they kind of just weren't there. But with this article, it had everything I was looking for, and I used a platform called iSeek. So I did want to bring this up. So it looks like this. I actually heard of this from a buddy of mine. So instead of using Google and that sort of thing for your projects, I've always used iSeek, and I have the URL up at the top. So looking at that, you can kind of go over to the web, medical, or finance side. This is 90% where I'm at. You can type in real estate, and a whole bunch of articles are going to pop up about real estate, and you can use any topic. So, and it's nice because for this project, they wanted us to use Forbes and kind of just more good websites rather than like Wikipedia, that type of thing. So it's nice because you can kind of just go over and find a halfway decent website using this. I did want to point that out. But with that said, hopefully you learned a little something about a property manager and kind of investing more into the real estate side. So for my closing statement, and even coming from the article, hiring a property manager may be one of the best decisions that you can make for your property, because property managers, it helps so much when trying to build your portfolio and your properties at scale. So, and the process of this should be measured, like having your data, having your Excel sheets, that sort of thing. And there really isn't too much margin for error. So it's always best to get it the right time, as stated in the article. Alright, hope you enjoy this presentation. I do have my one audience member over on the side. So, thanks for listening.
fancy.